Hey guys, welcome to the Journey NYC podcast. My name is Anthony Luke-Akagi, and I'm super excited today. One, because I am no longer by myself. Today, I'm super excited to invite and actually welcome our 19th episode subject, Ryan Young. Ryan, welcome. Ryan's actually going to be guest co-hosting with me today, so we're super excited. Ryan, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me back in a little bit of a different capacity this time around. I am what can I say about myself? A veteran model in the industry, an ultra marathon distance runner, and the publisher creator of a men's lifestyle website called runwithryan.org. So just a little bit about me.
Amazing. And he's got a really cool number of trips and vlogs and video vlogs about things that he's actually done. But if you want to hear more about Ryan, you can go and listen to episode 19. With that, today on episode 20, we're going to be talking to Brittany Kulick. Brittany, Ryan, is amazing because, first of all, I found her and loved her because she loves sweets. She is the sweetest person ever, and she has this y'all that she always says, which I love to death. But she is like the connoisseur of world-class and worldwide desserts everywhere. So I know, like we all need any more sugar, but let me tell you, it's going to be the most fun ever. And she travels a lot like you. So I think it'll be a really interesting episode for you to actually touch base and actually be guest hosting with us. Yeah. So with that, let's speak to Brittany.
Hi.
Oh my God, there she is. There she is, Miss America, who's no longer here. Hi.
How are you?
Oh my God,
Hello,
I cannot
Brittany.
tell you. This is Ryan Young. Ryan is our guest co-host today. I was so excited that he could make it today because both of you have this travel vibe thing that going on, which I think you guys will love talking to each other. Moreover, I was telling everyone that I found Brittany because of her love of sugar and sweets. And she is not just a connoisseur of like, oh, go here, this one city. She goes worldwide to find sweets. And it is the best thing ever to watch her blogs and stuff. And she also has really cute t-shirts, which I own a few of them. One of them, Rai, which you'll appreciate. It goes, Jim. Oh, I thought you said gin. And I was like, yeah. Well, and then my other favorite one is and I like to wear this to the gym that says introverted but chatty on Instagram.
Good stuff.
So she has some really cute merchandise. But Brittany, how are you?
I'm doing great. I am in my brand new colorful kitchen.
I was wondering what room that is. Literally, I was just telling Ryan, as I said, it's so great because Brittany has this love of sugar and sweets. And then also, you have this wonderful y'all that comes out, every now and then that I love. So.
Gotta hold on to those Texas roots a little bit.
Absolutely.
That was going to be my first question of where the y'all comes from. Where? From Texas?
Yes, I grew up in Dallas area. Went to school in Tennessee, so lots of y'all growing up.
Very, very nice.
And cheerleading.
Which
is also why, of course, I had to be your friend.
I had no idea how American I actually am until I left the US. And people were like, what was it like to grow up in Texas? And I said, well, I was a cheerleader. And then I went to university and I was president of my sorority. And they're like, wow, that is the most American thing I have ever heard.
Checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was telling our listeners a little bit about how I found you, obviously on Instagram and your Sweet Wanderlust, et cetera. And it's the pictures of the sweets and everything that I actually got me hooked. But since you just said that, is when I went overseas, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at? Because this is part of the story, guys, that I love, because there are two types of people in the world, which one of our guests previously had mentioned. There are those that are dreamers, and then there are those that are doers. And Brittany is absolutely a doer. So where are you?
I am in Lisbon, Portugal. I actually celebrated my 2-year anniversary of living here yesterday.
Wow.
Yes.
Yay!
So I have a journal entry from 2015. I was 1 month into what was supposed to be a 2-year tour that ended up being almost 5 years. We can definitely get into that later. But this journal entry says, you know, they say that Lisbon is the city with a sweet tooth, and it's almost like it was made for me. I could live here, but the world is so big and I haven't seen it yet. And so that was, I think, September 2015. I had left the US originally August 2015. So it was very early on in my journey. And 7 years later, almost to the day, I moved here to make this my permanent home.
That's so cool. So you're now in Lisbon, Portugal. But when I last read your blog, is you've now visited 61 countries.
Yes, I'm at 61 countries now.
That is amazing. And where did Portugal fall in that made you like was it early on? So like you've been planning to move there for like many years, or like what happened?
Oh no. So from August 2015 until March 17th, 2020, I was traveling full time with my travel blog, and kind of that was the life. I was, partnering with really cool brands. I was traveling all over the world, and at the same time, I had this feeling that it was time to settle down a little bit. But when you're living the dream life, why in the world would you go back to a 9 to 5? And so I was wrestling with that. And then, the world shut down and made that decision for me. And so I ended up back in Texas because traveling wasn't exactly on everybody's radar. I had to find a new career path. So I started copywriting. And pretty quickly I realized, okay, copywriting is something that doesn't necessarily keep me in Texas or the US, and started looking for places around the world that would be a possibility for me to live. Because, I had gotten a taste of living abroad and fell in love. And Portugal is a place I had fallen in love with in 2015. And, it compared to some other places, it's a little bit easier to move here. And so I said, well, I'll just take one step. And I got my fingerprints done, and that came back in, 3 days instead of the month it was supposed to take. And every step was just fast tracked. So I went from, this is maybe a good idea, to packing my bags and moving in, I think, 4 months.
Wait, okay. Ryan, how many countries have you gone to? Because
not 60. How many did you say? 65?
61.
One? Yeah, not 60, not 61. I think I'm in the 30s probably, if that.
That's still amazing though.
It's part of what I enjoy most about life, is kind of bouncing around and experiencing new cultures and new tastes, literally and figuratively.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'm curious. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask. I'm curious. Do you remember your first experience going overseas? Not necessarily as a quick little vacation trip, but with an intent of, this might be something I want to do more of.
Yeah. Well, I guess I traveled a lot while I had a full-time job. And I had actually never traveled solo. I never actually knew any women that had traveled solo until I turned in my notice at my job in Dallas. And then a couple days later, I actually got on a plane as my test solo travel trip. So I had, a week of vacation booked, and I went to Jerusalem. I did an archaeological dig. And so it was a solo trip, but, people knew I was coming. And so my first solo travel experience was after I had already turned in my notice and started packing my bags.
Again, there's a difference between dreamers and doers.
But I mean,
And the crazy part about it is like when you got really clear about, I guess, what you were gonna do, it's like within 4 months, it was like, all right, here we go.
I mean, I was just kind of looking for signs of, is this the right path? Am I doing the right thing? And it was like doors were flying open right and left. And I'm like, well, there's no way I can say no now. It's so clear that this is the path I'm meant to be taking.
Oh, it's so exciting. So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Being that the doors were all opening, did you ever run into anything that was like, oh, because having lived abroad for almost 8.5 years, in Europe and in many different foreign countries where they don't speak English necessarily as a native language, there were moments when I was like, the culture shock was real. Like, and I did it before like smartphones were around, so like it was really hard.
Wow. No, I mean, Google Translate is my best friend.
Yes.
No, the doors were flying open to welcome me here. And then I got here and it's like, oh, okay, not everything is that easy. So, bureaucracy is definitely a thing. The law when I moved here was you have to trade in your foreign driver's license within 2 years of getting here, or you have to take driver's ed in Portuguese. And driver's ed in Texas didn't go great. So I signed up. I got my appointment to go trade in my Texas driver's license, and they gave me a paper copy, and they said, okay, don't worry, this expires in 6 months. If for some reason you haven't gotten the plastic one in 6 months, you can just come back here. And I said, okay, any idea how long it'll take? She's like, no idea. So 6 months later, nothing had come in the mail. 8 months later, I went to go get another paper copy, and she basically just crossed out the deadline and wrote another one and stamped it and said, okay, here's another 6 months. It was a year to get a driver's license.
Wow.
So everything always happens here. Like whatever you need will happen. It's just not going to happen on your time frame, which has helped me to kind of relax and enjoy. I mean, that's why I moved here, right? The lifestyle here is so much more relaxed and different, but good.
Agreed. I'm so enthralled by driving because I cannot even imagine back when I was living abroad, like driving in Europe, like driving in England already on the wrong other side of the road just freaks me out because I always, like you look one way, the cars, like I can't imagine that you're driving in a foreign country.
Oh, I have no intention of driving here.
Okay.
They say it's the city with 7 hills, and it's so true. And everything's manual. But I just decided that 30-something-year-old Brittany shouldn't be making decisions for 45-year-old Brittany who may want to drive and won't want to take driver's ed in Portuguese. So
Fair.
I'm prepared.
Nice.
So are you fluent then in Portuguese?
No, I can make myself known, and I actually ordered. I bought sequin fabric to make curtains the other day, and I went to the seamstress, and I was able to tell her in Portuguese exactly what I wanted. So that was my big win for the week.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
I was like, wait, sequin drapes. I was like, that's gonna make a huge statement.
100%, yeah.
She's gonna announce to the neighborhood that she's arrived. I'm here, guys.
Yes.
That is so good. And tell me how did your love of desserts sort of intersect with this wanderlust sort of thing? Because when you look at Brittany's blog and everything, and even her social media, like it is travel or it's dessert, and it literally they run on the same highway going in one direction, and I love every bit of it.
Well, they say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and they're total liars. If you love what you do, you're probably going to work a whole lot more than you would if you don't love what you do.
You just keep going at it. That's true.
Exactly. Yep. But I have loved desserts since I mean, my dad likes to tell a story about the first time he took me trick-or-treating, and he took me to the first house, and he's trying to explain to me that I hold the little pumpkin out and I ring the doorbell and I say trick or treat. And I was pretty timid. And then I see that candy went in there and I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever. So I went to grab the candy to eat it. And he's like, no, you have to wait. So at the next house, I go up there, I ring the doorbell and knock on the door. I say trick or treat. And at the very last second, I have the pumpkin out and I trade it for my hand. And I'm like, just put it right in my hand because if it's there, I can eat it. And I mean, that has gone with me my whole entire life. My drawer at the office was full of cookies and candy. But it was always this double love of sugar and travel. And so when I started with this dream that I wanted to travel the world, I actually have a journal that's all dessert words, all travel words. And I just started crossing and checking the URLs and social media handles. And the Sweet Wanderlust is what I came up with.
That's so cool because both of you have such unique, websites and whatnot. Like, I just thought it's so crazy. And again, is like, I love your kitchen right now because it just reminds me of all of the desserts that you have. Mind you, Ryan, this girl is fit. She is,
I mean,
like, for the amount that the amount of weight that I gained just from looking at her vlog, let me tell you, is I don't know how she stays so skinny.
Good training.
Exactly.
There you go. Trust me, many a days I put in running. If only I could get home and eat some Oreos or something after.
Nice.
So, yep.
Hey, wait a minute. You make the best homemade pizza ever, so you need to stop. Like, he posts regular homemade pizza, and I'm just like envious. I'm like, how is it? How do these people have these bodies?
Once a week I make homemade pizza, but pizza's healthy for you, right? Like, got some dairy, has some
vegetables.
Exactly.
I'm with you, yeah.
So, Ryan, did I tell you that Brittany actually listened to your episode from the one that we just did?
You quickly mentioned that before we jumped on. Yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah.
I loved it. I mean, what was it? 30 miles a day for how many days?
For 10 days.
Wow.
And I like
so much pizza.
Oh, trust me, I did. I did. First 5 days I was running to different hotels along the route, and then after that we reached the desert, Eastern California. And I knew for 5 days there was going to be nothing. So we had an RV full of lots of good snacks. Definitely.
That is so
cool. Yeah. In running and health and wellness and whatnot, and joining that to my love of adventure and travel, that's how I came up with my site. So I love how you found the intersections of multiple things in your life that you love and found a way to put it all together. Yeah, so impressive.
So, Ryan, what your website should have been then is Run Towards Pizza with Ryan.org.
Maybe I'll do a series of shorts on YouTube or something. I don't know.
That'll work. And then you can take your professional modeling background, and with those new shorts that you've been modeling, is you can do shorts in short shorts. It all works out. See, you know what? We're going to be a new podcast. We're not just going to be talking about people's journeys and everything. We're going to be talking about what they're going to do next.
Sure.
Can you regress back, Brittany, and tell me what your job that had a drawer full of sweets and everything that you quit and you put in your notice? Like, what were you doing in Dallas before you actually became, I think you said, a copywriter?
Yes. So I worked at a nonprofit in Dallas as their director of communications. So I did that for about 5 years. But the drawer full of sweets was actually at a luxury travel agency in Melbourne, Australia. So it was full of Tim Tams.
Oh, yes. Tim Tams. I just discovered that I can order them on Amazon here in America.
No.
Somebody's rating me blind with the cost, but they're still amazing.
Oh, I think I just paid 13 euros for a thing of ranch dressing. So I understand.
Yes, ranch dressing. Okay, so you're now living in Portugal. I think one of the reasons why I also got really excited to chat with you and invited you to the podcast was what blew my mind is that in 2 years, because I did see your post yesterday where you were celebrating your 2 years in Portugal, you also just bought a place. Like this is your this is your place.
And I mean,
And
like in 30 years, it will be fully my place. I share it with the bank right now, but
yeah,
yes.
But like as someone who just immigrated there, literally just got your driver's license halfway through these last 2 years,
Yeah.
I'm enthralled because at the very beginning when you were talking about all of this, I was like, so wait, you immigrated for a boy or like for like what's going, and then for the sweets, no, it wasn't that, and now you have a house. So like I didn't realize it was just a thing, and then all of a sudden like you set down roots in this new country, which I think is quite phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, really, the travel blog was the full thing for, I mean, 2015 to 2020. And then I lost 90% of my income in the span of about 3 days when COVID hit. And it was like, I need to pivot real fast. And so, yeah, thought I was putting down roots in Texas, and that wanderlust bug really had me. So no, I didn't move here for a boy or sweets, although the pastel de nata here is pretty incredible. But I'm within about 15 minutes from a beach. The cost of living is definitely rising, which contributed to the buying of a house because rent here is going up quite a bit.
Okay.
But healthcare is amazing here, and there's just so many things. The people are incredible. The language is difficult to learn, but I've met lots of people who are really patient with me as I completely mess up the language. But yeah, it's such a good place to get to call home. And so over the past 2 years, I really knew that this is where I wanted to be. And so started looking for ways to make it more permanent.
That is so cool. What did you have? What kind of hoops did you have to go through in order to buy a place in a country that literally you just recently said, this is my new home?
So my business is actually registered here. So the banks were able to kind of see, what I was earning. I got letters from my clients saying, we do employ Brittany. We're not planning on firing her anytime soon. So because most people have a work contract when they're applying for a mortgage. And so, it was really just my word saying, I promise I'm going to pay it back. But I had, a really great mortgage broker. I had a really awesome realtor. It took a couple iterations to get the right team. But once I got them, everything went pretty smoothly.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Thanks.
I immediately think of, that's so huge. Congrats. I kind of do a lot of little home projects, kind of nonstop. What has been your experience like in a new home, in a new country, just putting together your home, your sanctuary? I think of going to Home Depot. Is it that easy? Something like that there?
Well, okay, so there's days where I just really miss Target and Home Depot, where I'm like, I know where things are. I did find the Portuguese version of Home Depot last weekend, so I filled up a cart there. There's something like this came actually from the US, so I flew home last month to surprise my sister at wedding dress try-ons, and I was like, and while I'm there, I'm getting a couple of things that I know. But I've just been scouring Instagram looking for things that I love and then finding ways to get it into Europe. Or
smart.
More likely get it from Europe.
Wait, so the wall behind you is wallpaper?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, and you put it up yourself?
No.
Okay.
I meant to put it up myself. I had a friend come over. We were standing on a ladder trying to put it up, and I had actually hired somebody because I have glitter wallpaper in that room next to me. And that used paste. So I'd hired somebody, and he's sitting over there watching us try and measure. And finally I was like, so what are you doing the rest of today? And he's like, I can put that up for you. He's like, your wall is actually crooked. So it was going to turn into a sort of rainbow.
Oh, yeah. By the way, you should see Ryan's projects, like amazing. Like he makes, I'm still on your little balcony, like cabana little thing that you made, like looks like a little piece of slice of grease. Like
That's
Cool.
thank you. That's what I was going for. Greece, Tulum, all of those kind of
yeah, like
resorty
literally
vacation places that yeah, that I love.
long
Amazing.
flowy fabric tied beautifully. The sticks were like treated and bleached. They were so beautiful. I was like, what?
Well,
I was
it's
so
also a
blown.
bit of yeah, like as a kid, I was that kid. Like we lived far out in the Chicago suburbs with a forest that ran behind our backyard, and I would always be out there like putting together sticks and making swings and whatever I could do. So I've always been kind of crafty with nature materials in my hands.
How
So
cool.
to have a place that I can, yeah, kind of create little things, I love it. In the middle of
Yeah.
LA, mind you. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Ryan's also really good about, he does like 3 screens of it, and then there's this pause, and then you have to then figure out later from a different story what the finished product. I'm like, who does that?
Well,
Like,
you know
there's
what that is? That's because I joke around. A friend of mine joke around like every home project is at least 3 trips to Home Depot. So I'll do one, I'll start it, I'll do 2, the second trip, and then I'll be like, oh, I have to make the 3rd trip. And so there's always that like lag, not because I intend to like tease the audience, but because
oh well, you literally had me hooked. I was like, but I think it was like 3 weeks later that he was having coffee on his, and I was like, oh, it's finished. Like I still had no idea what he was doing. He was like, it's this, and I was like, what is he doing with those sticks? What? Wait, they're all white now. Like, it's really quite amazing.
sounds like a great
well,
marketing strategy to me. Get the
Totally.
audience hooked.
well,
Or
if anything, I'm going to have a good piece of content now because I should go back and actually condense it into a little short or a reel or something. So yeah, funny.
so you were a communications director, Brittany, and as a communications director, I'm assuming that you wrote a lot, and now you're doing copywriting, you said.
Yes.
So what is it? What does a copywriter do? That, like, do you do it in Portuguese for Portuguese companies, or?
Oh no, I have got clients all over the world. I actually write anything that is written could be done by a copywriter. I have written 6,000 words about septic tank systems. I have written about tarot cards. I've written about fitness. I've written about jewelry. I've written about finance. So every single day is something completely new. And it's just a blast for me getting to learn new things and getting to be a part of so many different people's dreams.
I'm sort of
Awesome.
I'm sort of enthralled with that, because literally when like if I read a book, I think about things like, oh, you should know about it before you're writing about it. But like when you're writing articles and whatnot, does that mean you have to actually research all of this, or do people like give you this stuff, or like how do you become so well spoken in septic tanks and fitness?
Yeah,
And,
fluent enough in
yeah,
whatever the
so
is
that it doesn't
to convey it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
sound like, oh, it's AI.
no, so the nonprofit I was working for in Dallas, I didn't actually do a ton of the writing. I was actually more on the research side and the editing side. So I kind of was part of the meeting in the morning of here's what we should talk about. Then my boss would go and write it. Then it would come back to me and we'd go, oh, maybe we want to take a different spin here, or maybe we say this in a different way. So I was in a career where we were producing content every single day, coming up with ideas. So I got really good at research and
Oh,
taking big, complex issues and taking them and turning them into bite-sized chunks that somebody who has no idea what a septic tank is supposed to do can understand why they need one or why they need to get theirs fixed.
oh, that's so
It,
cool.
do you specialize in copywritten material for one source over another, or do you find that what you're doing is your materials are ending up on websites, some are in brochures or pamphlets? Is there a difference? I know articles there would be a difference, but yeah.
So for the most part, well, my favorite thing to do is write blog posts. I also, for over a year, I was writing trivia content, which was a lot of fun as well.
Oh, how fun is that?
So yeah, I worked for a trivia company. So, they said, just pick things you're interested in. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, Taylor Swift lyrics and 90s boy bands.
That's the other reason why I loved you.
Yes. Did you go to the Eras tour?
Yeah, and I also went to Anne Juliet.
Oh yeah, yes.
I'm bringing Ryan when he next visits. I'm gonna make him sit through that, even if he doesn't like that stuff. Just because it's because it's such a fun night of experience at Anne Juliet on Broadway. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
No, but so my content has ended up all different places. I actually got to write for a magazine, which was really exciting, about street art. But for the most part now, I'm lucky to get to sort of pick and choose who I work with and what kind of content I do. And so I like doing blog posts because it's easy to research. I have kind of a formula of how I create that content, and so I can get more done, which is great.
That's amazing. Then it's perfect that you met Ryan, because I told Ryan that he needs to write a book about running.
I will get there. I will. First, we're going to do a small video short series on running, but then
how cool.
I know, right?
There's a plan.
I can.
But I will need some help in writing a book for sure.
See, look at this. He's teasing me again with this. So now I'm going to be like, wait, what's the video vlogs? When are they? He's a master at that, let me tell you. So now you're writing for blogs and whatnot. Do you, with the formulas, do you work with the people for these blogs and these companies and whatnot to like sort of get the sense of what things say or like how the topics run? How does all of that work?
So every single client that I work with is totally different. I have some clients that just say, okay, I need, 2 blogs a month. You come up with the topics. I will approve them or, make suggestions. I have some clients that give me a full outline with keywords and everything. So there's a spectrum for sure.
That's so cool that you turned that into literally a career that allows you now to live in a foreign country, own a home. That's amazing. What did your family say, by the way? Like, that's like literally by yourself move. I'm going by.
Well, I mean, I think with them knowing that I'm in one place now, as opposed to, okay, I'm in Thailand today and I'll be in Vietnam tomorrow and they're like, well, what country are you in? My dad's cell phone is full of, Brittany in Australia, Brittany in New Zealand, Brittany in all these different countries. So they know which phone number to get me on now. So they're super supportive. My sisters come twice, my mom's come twice, my dad's coming in a month. So it's all just, they're so excited and so supportive.
Have any of them seen the new house yet?
No, I mean, it's 1 month. I've been in here 1 month.
Oh, wow.
That is so cool.
Very, very new.
I have a question. Like, did you ever see yourself as settling, putting in roots in a foreign country before this experience?
Oh, no. I grew up in Texas. I went to a private Christian university. Most of my friends were married by the time, or engaged by the time we were graduating. So I was very much thinking that was going to be my, married by 21, 22, first kid by 23. And I kind of was waiting for, Prince Charming to show up. And then I was 29 and I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be waiting around. I felt like I was waiting for life to begin when that, relationship and everything came along. I was like, but I have this desire for travel. I have this desire to explore new places and meet new kinds of people. And so if you had told me at 21 years old that I would own a home in Portugal, I would not believe you. And I'm so glad that the dream that I had for myself then didn't come true, because this life is pretty darn cool.
Sure.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess when you can actually picture it and you can actually, what is it, to just allow yourself to be open to the process, it just sort of, as you said, doors fly open when it's meant to be.
Just kind of why I was wondering about the question, because going back to how we started, that quote about there's dreamers and there's doers, you know, I most people allow themselves to dream, most.
Yeah.
But then I think the doers not only try to have a course of action, at least maybe what it might look like, start taking those actions. But I think the biggest thing, at least in my life, and it sounds like a great majority of, you know, all of us on the call, is being open to what the next step might be. We have an idea, but then whatever presents itself, finding a way to weave it into the journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To move us forward.
So I'm gonna change your journey after you finish this last thought, Brittany, because you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and having the courage to dream a new dream when a door closes. Because,
absolutely,
you know, even my 2015 to 2020, I thought I'd be home by 2013, or, you know, 2 years later. And it very much changed. Like a new visa opened up in Australia. And so, yeah.
Yeah. That's such a great point. Yeah. Having the courage to dream something else. Yeah. Yep.
That is so amazing. And, you know, to your point, Ryan, is you are right, is a lot of people do dream, and most people do, but very few people take action on that or even lay out a plan of like what to do and this and that. Yeah. And what are the steps that I'm going to take, or what are you going to discover to see if the doors do open? Right. Speaking of open doors, there are many door of sweet shops and dessert shops all over the world that have experienced your presence. Is there any one dessert that sticks out worldwide that you still think about?
Oh, that's just too hard of a question, Anthony.
That means that's like choosing my favorite child.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the most memorable that you can in recent history? How's that?
Even that is so hard. Okay. Well, okay. I'll give you a favorite category of desserts.
Category. Okay. I'll take that.
So the Freak Shake was invented in Canberra, Australia. And the Freak Shake is a milkshake that might have cotton candy and waffles and an ice cream cone and lollipops and maybe a cheeseburger on top.
My insulin.
Wait. Did I hear cheeseburger on top?
Yes, I did have one that was red velvet crusted deep fried chicken on top, and they offered another that was like a state fair version that had corny dogs or mini cheeseburger sliders on top. That was Perth, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Australia did that?
Yeah.
I have never heard of a red velvet crusted fried chicken.
If we're being honest, it was a mistake to order that one.
Okay.
Let me try it so you don't have to. But I do love red velvet, everything else.
Yes.
Just some things are better separate. But yes, so freak shakes are my favorite kind of dessert, probably just because, you know,
variety.
It's bright and colorful and fun. And when it comes out of the kitchen and is sat down in front of you, everybody's eyes go, oh my goodness, you ordered that?
Sure.
And, you know.
So basically you get your whole meal and dessert all at the same time.
Exactly. It's really an economical choice.
This is the other reason why I love you. This is what you should put on a t-shirt. Have dessert first. Economical.
Exactly. Yes. And I do eat all of the things that I order. I have watched, you know, especially when I lived in Australia, there are so many food influencers and really cool food influencer events that I went to. And I was out with some friends one time and we were eating dessert, and I watched a couple come in and they ordered a bunch of desserts and they took a bunch of pictures and they even like cut into it for the photo, and then they left. It's like, oh no. So yes, I eat
So that's
everything that I order.
oh my goodness. That's so ordering all those desserts just for the pictures. That's kind of mind blowing. I would never have thought about that. That's what people would have done.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I'm like, I want to be a good advocate for the dessert places that I visit.
You are a
And so,
true dessert journalist.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. The important things.
All right. So it's Australia. So that's basically the category of milkshake.
Yes. I mean, and you can get them in New York for sure. They're all over the world now, but they were invented in Canberra, Australia. And there's one cafe that is legally allowed to call them freak shakes. Everywhere else is
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I mean, I do know like Junior's Cheesecake here in New York does this thing where they literally stick a slice of cheesecake and a brownie and like build a sundae around it. And it is the most astronomical thing like you've ever seen. And I'm like after 2 bites, I was like, does anyone want it? Because it's so much.
I'm coming. I'm on my
way. Exactly. Ryan, what's your favorite dessert? Speaking of.
Oh, my favorite dessert. Well, see, immediately I was thinking.
Or are you a dessert person? I don't even know that.
I am a dessert person. I am. I try to make moderate, sticking with the health and wellness in my life. I try to make moderate, everything in moderation. We'll say it that way. But whether it's pastries, cookies, traditional sweets like a gummy kind of a thing.
Oh yes, 100% behind the gummies.
I really okay. Like if I had to pick one dessert, it would either be just a traditional, really gooey chocolate chip cookie with milk. I do this thing where I will have a cookie, chocolate chip cookie, and then I make my own version of what's the cereal with the little cookie cookies and cream? Yes.
Oh, cookies.
So I put a whole bunch of cookies into a glass of milk, let it sit there for a few minutes, and then just eat it like it's my cereal,
like a pudding.
So yeah, basically it becomes like a pudding.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, chip cookies, Oreo cheesecake. I'm always in. Yeah, like I love a good shake for sure. Ice cream.
Now I know why
try
you run
every flavor.
30 miles in 10 days. 30 miles every day for 10 days. Now I get it.
Yeah. And trust me, with every tick on the calendar, I'm like, oh, gotta run a little bit more. Gotta run if I want to eat the way that I do sometimes. So yeah.
That's so amazing.
I can't choose one dessert. Yeah,
exactly.
There's so much to choose from, and that's why I appreciate Brittany. Yeah.
Well, this is why we call it the journey, right? The journey of self-discovery, to understand that there is no single choice of dessert. There are categories.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What's your favorite dessert?
Honestly, I think mine is just ice cream in general. Or that's the thing that I'll gravitate to if I want something sweet. It's not even a flavor. It's really, it sort of changes, but I just like cold and creamy, and maybe it's
in a waffle cone, in a cup, in a sugar cone.
Absolutely a waffle cone any day.
Okay.
I do tend to I don't like any of the sprinkles and all that other stuff on it. If I'm gonna have anything with ice cream, it would generally be something like pistachio or nuts or butter pecan, or but rarely will I have like candies and stuff. That's not my thing.
So you have healthy ice cream.
Yeah. I'm hearing nuts and protein in your ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And fiber. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
You've heard it here first. People, add nuts to ice cream to make it healthy.
basically a salad, really.
Oh, I think we just invented a new category, some sort of
Right?
salad, ice cream, something.
Oh my God, it's gonna be like those gelato places that make the ice cream into like flowers and everything. It's gonna be like, here's your salad. It's like, oh, we should literally, I think we're gonna have to find a sponsorship with some sort of ice cream company going forward from here. We could talk about ice cream for days. So now that you actually have a home there, what other things are there still things that you need to do in, to get settled, or like to lay more roots down, I guess? And do you still travel from there?
I'm traveling less, although I spent 2.5 months in Australia earlier this year. So
I saw
I
that.
will
Yeah.
never stop traveling. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, really, I'm just loving nesting and kind of making my house the way that I want it. Um, and just settling into a routine because I haven't had a routine in 8 years. Um,
That's so
and
cool
so
though.
it feels really good to have a place that, you know, even when I go travel, I'm coming back to my spot. And I guess continuing my Portuguese lessons is definitely high on the list because I want this to feel like home. I don't want to feel like a foreigner living in Portugal. I want to understand, how do I maybe get my driver's license a little bit sooner? And
Do you do you find that there's a lot of expats and whatnot that are there that you can still converse in English with where
oh,
you're living?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there is a huge expat community, and if I wanted to, I could probably get by without speaking Portuguese. I know there's people here who they'll be like, "Oh, I've been here 15 years and I didn't learn." I'm like, "What?" I moved here because I love Portugal. I love the culture, and there's so many cool things that are happening here, and you really have to know Portuguese and have Portuguese friends to understand what's happening.
Got it.
So, and I
Excellent.
got really lucky with that.
It sounds so, refreshing just to, and also very exciting to hear someone that turned, basically the pandemic and flipped it into such a wonderful opportunity, a different career, not just a different career, but also is this life that I think a lot of people dream of. Because I can remember dreaming like I wanted to live in, I was like, oh, Europe sounds great. Sounds great, and then the logistics. I mean, to hear that someone's done it in such a short period of time is really inspiring. Um, is there anything that you would share with, our listeners as far as if you decide to go and do things abroad, like just things that you've learned along the way that you would recommend?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I probably didn't do enough research on like taxes and legalities and things
Okay.
like that.
The grown-up
I got
stuff.
my yeah, the grown up stuff. I do have friends that have had to move away because of tax issues and things like that. There's a lot of
Oh,
articles being published right now about how Portugal is just this haven and it's cheap and it's wonderful, and then people get here and they're like, oh, it's really hard and it's really expensive and my taxes are a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So I think doing the research, talking to people who live here, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad I jumped in maybe a little bit blind. I think keeping that idealistic sense about you and the sense of wonder and the thought that like, yeah, things could go wrong, but what if they don't? Things could also get really, really good. I think that's the mindset to have.
that's so really great.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? Do you have any questions for the Sweet Wanderlust?
Well, my question was kind of similar to yours in your experience now, calling a new country, a new place home, what your biggest challenge has been. Yeah, what has been your biggest challenge? And it sounds like you've spoken a little bit to it, but I'll just throw that your way.
Yeah, I think for me, not quite knowing how things work, like we said earlier, I know that if I go to Target, if I go to Home Depot, I know exactly what I can get there. Here, everything is a little bit new. So every single day is a new journey. And so that can be a little bit frustrating to be like, I really want this to be home, but I don't know where to buy a command strip. And
What's
so
a
those
command
little
strip?
things, oh, so that you don't have to put nails in your wall, like to hang picture frames.
Oh, okay, got it.
Or, I mean, literally just, I don't even know where to buy nails. So every,
True.
yeah. So every single thing is new. And then when things go wrong, I just got a tax bill that is a lot of money. And I talked to my accountant and he said, oh, yep, that's right. The government sometimes does magic math here. So I don't know why it's so high, but I guess you just need to pay it. And so my inclination was, okay, well, I'm the foreigner. I guess he must be right. I'm paying him. He's a tax professional. I'm just like, no, it's way too much money to just pay it. And so I got another opinion, and it turns out that something was done wrong. But not knowing what to question and what to just roll with has been a little bit tricky.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
I remember when I lived in Vienna too, it was always this question. The tax things in different governments are really questionable, and it's always very hard to sort of understand.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the end, it means that with every question and every hiccup, I'm getting better people around me. I mean, I have a great team of professionals around me. I have just the best friends. My birthday was last week, and they all got together to get me cool stuff for my house. And it's just, I have created a life here that I love so much.
Oh, that's so great. I think on that note is, if you have a journey that you'd like to share with us and be a part of this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. You can please send us an email at TheJourneyNYCPodcast@gmail.com, because we'd love to showcase your journey and what journey that you're on. Again, today we've been talking with our guest today, Brittany Kulick, all the way from Portugal. And we have our special guest host today. We have Ryan Young.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for including me on this. Great to talk to you, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. This has been episode 20. We look forward to seeing you back with our next episode.